Hello and welcome to the digital edition of the Jerusalem Writers Festival in Mishkenot Sha'ananim. My name is Sefy Hendler, and I have the great pleasure and honor to have with us in this unusual digital edition Marco Balzano. A few words in Italian. Marco, è un piacere di poter averti qui con noi in questi tempi strani. Parleremo in inglese, ma volevo dire 2 o 3 parole in italiano per onorare la tua lingua e ripeterò questo anche in ebraico perché siamo comunque in Gerusalemme. בעברית אנחנו במהדורה הדיגיטלית של פסטיבל הסופרים במשכנות שאננים. אמרתי באיטלקית למרקו שאלו ימים מוזרים, אבל אנחנו נדבר איתו באנגלית, כי כך מתחייב, ורצינו בכל זאת לכבד הן את האיטלקית, השפה שבה הוא כותב, והן את עברית, השפה שהרומן היפה שלו תורגם אליה. How are you doing in these days? In the beautiful Milano, you are in Milano, very struck by the corona disease. Does it seem that the worst is behind you, Marco?
I'm at home with my children. I'm from Milan. These days I'm improving with activities such as play with Lego, watercolors, dust, etc. So I must protect them. Unfortunately, no one considers, in my opinion, that children haven't had a relation with school so far. Friends, teachers, grandparents, and we must not forget the school, first of all, is community. So, except a couple of articles for newspaper, these are my days. I stayed with my children, and it's not exactly a writer life in this moment. Regarding the situation in Milan, I don't really agree with your feeling because it doesn't seem to me that the worst is behind. No, not yet. Here, nobody makes tampons. We don't know how many people really have coronavirus, and this is the biggest concern. This pandemic, it's a terrible political problem.
You speak about the political aspect of the corona pandemic that, as you say, touched not only Milan, but Italy, the north of Italy, very hard, and it revealed many tensions between central government and local regions. Do you feel those tensions when you are situated? And I know those are subjects that are close to you.
Sure. I feel it every day. I feel it every moment, of course. There are many tensions between government and regions. Consider that the healthcare in Italy is a regional competence, and during the pandemic, every region has adopted different solutions, different approach. For example, in Veneto, east of Lombardia, the governor has ordered to make tampons to the population. Here in Lombardy, although the situation is very serious, is one of the most serious situations of the world, together with Spain, together with New York. No one has been made tampons. I have friends that have been temperature for 10 days or more, but no doctor has seen them. No one. And it's terrible. As I told you, the pandemic for me, it's first of, not only for me, it's first of all a political emergency, and after a sanitary emergency.
This question and this testimony that you bring, it does bring me to I think the major theme of your last novel, translated beautifully into Hebrew, Resto qui, lo Azouz מכאן. The book reflects the tension between the very intimate stories, like someone that has fever, and the regional environment, and the geopolitics that are always in the background. when you start conceiving the story, just let me remind, it's the story of a woman that refuses to let go of her memories, of her history, and of course of her home that is destined to be destroyed by a big project that is much bigger than she can be. When you start conceiving this novel, how do you measure the place you decide to give to each and one of these elements, the personal, the regional, the geopolitical?
It's a careful and complicated question, and every story is different and has different conceiving. So I can give you a general answer or a general solution. I could tell something about Resto qui. At the beginning of the conceiving, I wanted to tell only the story of a little country, of Curon, with this bell tower on the water, and tell about the destruction of it, the, how can I say, the disintegration of a community, and the building of a dam, the building of a dam in the name of a progress and political power, very, very blind, very violent, and also very stupid. Why not? The main question about this book for me is what Pierpaolo Pasolini said. He said, a landscape can never be reconstructed. When you destroy a landscape, you destroy it forever. You can do again a skyscraper, but not a landscape. So this for me was the first impression. Later I realized that it would be impossible for me to tell only the story of Curon, because that country was connected with the story of Italy, and the story of Italy was connected with the story of Europe. So in the final project, the history of them, the history of country in the book is only the third and the last part of the novel, because one of the difficult, maybe the big one in a novel, I think, is to find a balance.
I want to insist on this question of the balance and really to take it from where you left it. In the very first lines of the novel, the heroine, Trina, portrays the beauty mark on the shoulder of her lost daughter. In the third chapter, we start entering, sensing the political atmosphere, the very dramatic, with the march, fascist march on Balzano in 1922. Again, it makes me reflect on the question that you just underlined, the personal and the national. Do you consider Resto qui an historical novel, even though you wanted to tell a personal story?
Okay. As I told you, the difficulty is to find a balance. A novel is not a documentary, a novel is not a history book. A novel must always move, touch. In Italian, we say commuovere.
Yes.
Commuovere means touch together, move together, the emotion with other aspects. For example, reflexive aspect, psychology aspect, and for me also political aspects.
Yes.
So I don't like very much the definition historical novel, because every novel is historical. If you write, for example, I don't know, the story of your family, it will be a historical novel. If you write the story of your friendship, it will be a historical novel. So I prefer a political novel. Because I'm interested in discussing the relationship between the how can I say, the official storytelling and the hidden history. In my opinion, a writer tells those stories that nobody tells. A writer pulled the skeletons out of the closet. Okay, something like this.
The Resto qui is inspired, and you've mentioned it, and some of our listeners and watchers know it, by a true story that is reflected on the beautiful cover of the book. It was kept also in the Hebrew edition, the campanile, the bell tower, that is all that remains visible from the village of Kuron that you've mentioned, after it was flooded while building a dig in 1950 at the end. Did this image inspire you in the first place to write the novel? Did the storytelling start from an image?
Sure. The bell tower on the lake, for me, my opinion, is a very strong image. It's a story. It's a story. When I saw for the first time, it was as how can I say? It was as see a picture of the Chirico. Okay, something like a surrealistic metaphysic paint. I usually conceive a story from an image. For all my books, I know the original image, the starting image. But if the bell tower was my first image, the second one was even more important for me, because next to the lake there were people swimming. I stayed in Kuron for the first time in a sunny day, in a summer day, and next to the lake there were people swimming, self-bathing, playing balls. No one of them realized that under their feet, under the water, there was a destroyed country. So a tragedy place had become a tourist place, and the up and down didn't communicate each other. And this is it's a tragedy of the history.
Yeah. But your book is in a way the in-between, the image and what's down under. I imagine that the place it was popular, but I imagine it became the bell tower much more popular after the success of your book. Do you go back there often?
Yes, a bit popular. Sure, I came back to Kuron once last year, always in summer, and people living there had a great party, and I presented my novel on a boat on the lake. 600 people were on the beach, and I felt like Bruce Springsteen, and too bad I didn't have a guitar.
You had a book, even it's better. The bell tower is a physical remain. That the tragedy of the village of Kuron is what's underneath. It also seems to be a very powerful metaphor of the capacity of human beings to resist through memories and through storytelling, not only through physical presence. The tower still stands, and it even was fortificated lately, so it will not collapse a few years ago. And the story, thanks to your novel, is still being told. It is not forgotten. So in a way, is it a bitter victory of the memories over the reality at the end?
It could be. However, in my opinion, we must get out of the logic of who wins and who loses. It's not a dichotomy that allow us to understand reality and complexity. Maybe victory will exist when progress, it's a really benefit for all, not only for a part, not only for Montecatini, not only for the political power, and won't be as violent and senseless as in Quran and in many other parts of the world, even today.
I meant victory, of course, and maybe I have to explain myself, but the fact that they managed to destroy the village, but they didn't manage to destroy its story. And I meant by a victory, of course, not the material victory.
Yeah, a victory of memory, sure. Literature is try to give memory a victory, okay? But how can I say, in history, for Quran, especially for Quran, I don't know if there is a victory, if only a book gives them a victory.
Yeah. Maybe it gives them life, it gives them, in a way, an existence, a continuity of existence. And it does make me think about Trina, the heroine, a very impressive figure you portray, that she tells the story. She's in the center of your novel. She's attached to her language, German, the language of her father. She is attached to her family, to her land, to her lost daughter. And it seems though she is well aware, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's only my understanding of the novel.
No, you are a very refined reader.
She's very well aware of the hopelessness of her situation. Or isn't she?
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, absolutely. Her idea is, I know the desperation. I know the violence. I know that I lost my daughter and my land, but I can tell my story. The victory of memory, no? You said before. And as long as I can tell my story, I'm not completely lost. Because until we have words, we have dignity. For under this aspect is a victory. Okay, maybe it's a victory.
Did you find sympathetic readers to your novel, to Resto, which again, we'll come back to it, which was a huge success in Italy and worldwide, with the No TAV movement, those that are opposing the construction of the fast train in the Susa Valley between France and Italy? It's not the same story, and I'm not trying to do a parallel, but do you think the story made them identify with the historical reality?
The fun thing is that the day after the book was published, they called me from the Susa Valley, and I went there. It was my first meet. And it was a good first meeting, and it was a good meeting for two reasons. First of all, I felt encouraged because the metaphor of the novel had been understood, and the second reason because in Susa Valley I told them, I don't know if you are right or not, because in Italy, nobody gives scientific information. And after 10 years, there is only war between parties, and the truth in my country escapes.
This is also very eloquent for what we are living nowadays with the question of science and politics.
It's the same.
Again, without drawing a parallel between what happened then and what's happening now, I do want to come back to other figures in your book. Unlike Trina, the political figures in your book, in your novel, they appear as posters. It seems to me very deliberately, either real ones on the walls of the village, the posters of Mussolini when the fascist movement comes into power during the Italianization of South Tyrol. The image of Hitler is described on a photo that the son of Trina is keeping in his wallet. Even the image of the Pope that meets the inhabitants of the village when they launched the battle to save the village, the lost battle. Even Pius XII that nods in sympathy to the inhabitants appears a bit as a poster, but not as someone that is really sympathetic and is involved in the conversation. Do you accept this, that you deliberately tried to create this very strong distinction between the heroes and the politicians?
I usually write political novels. Political novels in the way that I explained you before. And but both aspects are political novel from one part, and from the other, I would like that my novels can be fiction stories under the all aspects. It is the commuovere, okay? There is a there are politician facts, but together there is the touch.
I totally understand, and I think such a novel makes people not only read history again, but also think about the place that politics plays in history. I think this is one of the beautiful things about the novel. It made me read the story, which I didn't know, and understand who played which part. And it's very interesting that it's a project that started before the war, but it ended after the war. The question of which were the powers that drove to the destruction of this village. The success of we speak about Italy and the geopolitical circumstances in the 30s and the 40s, but the success of the book was global, not regional, not local, not national. You won in Italy, among other, the very prestigious Bakuta Prize. But Resto qui, lo Azus מכאן in Hebrew, let's mention the editor, ספריית הפועלים, and the translator, beautifully translated, Arno Bar. It was translated not only to Hebrew, to Mandarin, to German, to French. Did such a success come to you as a surprise when the novel is so intimate and it's so regional?
Of course. Success must be a surprise. If success is not a surprise, it will mean that something in you is wrong. In Italy, also my previous book won important prizes. For example, Campiello, the most important Italian prize, together with Strega. And also that success was a surprise for me. I think that we must take care of the emotion of surprise. It's too important not to take things for granted. I didn't try to understand the reason of success. For me, it's important to keep writing.
Let me suggest an explanation that you can refuse or you can accept, that it's very intimate, but there is something very universal about the question of a place, a family, and the attachment to a place. And maybe we've been speaking so much about globalization that we forgot a bit the very intimate powers that ties us to a place. And maybe all around the world, people can identify with those very, very strong feelings.
Yes, I think literature, if it's literature, is always universal.
When it's good literature, Marco.
Yeah, good literature, sure. A writer can be interested in in facts of newspaper, but it's interesting in metaphors, only metaphors of facts. So yes, I really agree with you.
One last question, drawing our conversation back to the Corona days. The name Resto qui comes at a time when many of us stay at home. Do you think we read more nowadays? Do you think your novel, in the days when we say io resto a casa, does it acquire maybe a new meaning, an additional meaning?
No, I don't think that we have been reading more in these days. I think we have been reading less, reading books, reading novels, reading essays. Reading, in my opinion, is a way to escape from the ordinary life, and people now are reading only newspapers and websites on smartphones. No. I think we have been reading less, sure. And so I don't want to believe that these Corona days could change the meanings for everything. The economy, the political power need to change, not the meanings of the books, and not our souls.
Let me finish by the hope, or by that through our conversation that is recorded and maybe can reach larger audience than the big audience that all usually come to the festival, will make people read more, at least read this beautiful book, אזוז מכאן, Resto qui, that was translated into Hebrew and published by ספריית פועלים. And let me hope that we can meet in Jerusalem. Next year, we say, next year in Jerusalem. So.
I had many travels abroad to present my novel. Obviously, every trips have been cancelled, but believe me, the trip to Israel was what I cared most, and I hope in future we could meet in Jerusalem or in Tel Aviv. Yes, I really hope.
Thank you so much, Marco. Grazie, toda rabba. Stay safe, and hope to see you next year in Jerusalem. Thank you. Grazie.
Bye.